All right. Howdy, folks. It's Cody with IronVerse Comics doing another IronVerse interviews. I'm very privileged and very stoked to have the folks at Brainy Pixel and Mercy Way Studios to talk about their very beautiful book, Chronicles of Faith. David, let me make sure I got these guys ready. You want to say howdy, folks?
Hello, how
Howdy,
you doing?
folks.
Hello, everyone.
There we go. There we go. I think it's working. We're picking up the guests. Anybody watching? As we go, let me know what the levels are like, if you would, in case you can't hear somebody or any of those things. I got to go off of visual aids, the visualizers, and those aren't always the most accurate. So appreciate your assistance. Now, let me go ahead and see if I can share these folks' beautiful mugs with you. Get that going. Yeah. Full there, and then can I full screen this as well? I can. All right, and display capture. There they are. All right, we got that going. All right. So why don't you both introduce yourselves and kind of what's going on with this very cool book that's going to be going public, I guess, tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, tomorrow. That's right.
All right.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brandon Hollingsworth, and I'm happy to be back on the IronVerse stream with Cody and all the IronVerse crazies. You might know me from doing a little bit of writing in the IronVerse. I'm doing some Golden Monk work for Mr. Cody, and also you might know me from Brainy Pixel Productions. I'm the chief operations officer over there and the chief creative officer. And Brainy Pixel is a Christian animation and production studio based out of North Alabama. And we do everything from kids shows to toys to comics, games, and more. So,
Well,
over to
my
you,
name is
Ivan.
my name is Ivan, or you can call me Ivan. I am from El Salvador, and I am a comic artist in Mercy Way Studios, a Christian comic studio. There actually is about to release a comic really, really soon, in collaboration with this amazing guy next to me. Yeah, over here.
You're over here to me. So.
Yeah, it's funny. You both pointed the opposite ways to me. So the two folks on the screen that you can actually see. So, let me. I think what I want to do is I want to show that beautiful cover that's there first.
Yeah.
Start there because it's just the artistry on this book is what really blew me away. Of course, it's a very ancient and very powerful tale, but even beyond that, how it's been rendered and presented, that just was amazing. So let me go ahead and see. There we go there. Let me full screen that. And sorry, you're gonna miss their beautiful mugs, but I got to show you this beautiful cover here. So why don't you guys tell me kind of how this beautiful book came to be? How did this collaboration happen, and maybe what's the goal of this collaboration, both with the public release tomorrow and in the future?
So that's several different questions, and I think I'll
Pick
answer
one.
one of them. I can kind of answer where the kind of collaboration started, and then I'd love it if Yvonne would tell us a little bit about how the book started, because the wonderful guys and gals at Mercy Ways, they've been working on this beautiful masterpiece for the last year and a half. I've just kind of was fortunate enough to come in kind of at the tail end of the dog here. So, at Brainy Pixel, one of my jobs is a wonderful thing, is for me to put on my art director hat and to always kind of have that art director hat on. I first put that hat on back about 15 years ago. When I was working in the role-playing game industry, and developed a bit of a knack for finding amazing artists, and I've fallen in love with amazing art, whether it's for games or animation or for comics or illustrated novels or anything of that nature. And so I've always kind of got my eye on the horizon, looking for, talent, looking for amazing artists that are out there doing stunning work that I might want to partner with, that I might want to hire, that I might want to contract with to work on various and sundry jobs that we've got going at Brainy Pixel. And also I've got passion projects as well, as Cody knows.
Yes.
And Mr. Yvonne's art came across a couple of my streams. I didn't know it at the time, but I'd actually been following him for years over on DeviantArt, but he was under a different name on DeviantArt. And I was enamored with his art from many, many years ago, probably about 10 years ago. And he's only gotten better the more years have gone by. And so I was just blown away by his art. And I'm like, I reached out via social media and I said, hey, I would love to work with you sometime. Let me know what your freelance rates are. I've got projects, so on and so forth. So we began a relationship in kind of a commercial, a standpoint right off the bat. But as we got to know each other more and more, I found out that he was a believer, that he worked at a Christian comic company. And immediately I'm thinking collaboration between our two companies. Started pitching him some ideas. The more I find out about what he's working on, the more amazed I become. It started with the art, but it definitely, as I learned more, it transformed into, I was completely blown away by the amazing stuff that they're doing with this series and with this book as well. And so, Brainy Pixel is really, really happy to be involved in the project. We're truly blessed to be a part of it. So, Yvonne, how did it get started though?
Well, actually, this idea started I think in 2020. Man, I just every time I say the wrong number. In 20, I guess 18. No, 19. In 2019, we just were thinking with the other members of the company what we should do. And actually, this project came across when we were started working in another project called Two Kingdoms. But after we get into thinking and praying about what we should do next, we also noticed that we need to have a Bible story, because we are a Christian comic company, so we cannot go far away from the Bible. And thinking about all the stuff and what I should do, David was actually the best choice for the kind of story that we want to tell. I think David is just one of the most well-known Bible characters. Jesus and David, everyone knows that names, no matter where you are, no matter what you believe, you already know that name. So we think that David, in that sense, is a great choice to actually let people know that this is a Bible story, because there's a Bible story. And also there is something in your mind that's going to tell, okay, this is going to be about David and Goliath. But actually, the comic is not about David and Goliath. It's just part of the story, but it's just the entire story. And the comic is make sure that you know that from the beginning. The first 10 pages of the comic is just let you know this is not going to be only about David and Goliath. And the only things that we want to share is because it's called Chronicles of Faith. And the idea of Chronicles of Faith is just tell the story of people who actually have faith in a radical trust in the character of God. So we want people get inspired to trust in the character of God, get inspired to have faith. So David is just, I think, one of the most radical example of the Bible of someone who actually trusts who God is. So David also fits in the idea of the things we want to tell. And there is a lot of process that I don't want to extend out, because in the last podcast I just speak for 40 minutes about just the beginning, but it's just something that we want to do. And one of the things that we want to do is make a great quality comic, because we think this is something, I don't know, I think that the Bible is so rich in stories, is so beautiful description about the things that had happened, that if you don't put yourself in the idea of having something really well done, it's just not going to be justice to the Bible. So we're trying to let people experience the beautiful of the Bible in a beautiful art.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of add a quick footnote to that, Cody. In that there's a real kind of meshing of the minds here between our two studios. When I came on the podcast last time, I was talking about animation and talking about comics and things of that nature that we're working on. And I think I even said on the podcast that one of our primary kind of goals at Brainy Pixel is that we want to kind of take back this Christian entertainment space. We want to step into this space where a lot of Christian entertainment that's been produced over the last 20 years has really not been great. And so Christian movies, Christian, music, Christian comics, they've all kind of gotten a black eye, in the industry. And when you hear it's going to be a Christian comic, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I know what that's all about. That's going to be poor art and, weak, milquetoast storytelling. And there's probably not going to be a whole lot of stuff that's going to keep me interested. And we want to change that paradigm. Brainy Pixel wants to change that paradigm. Mercy Ways wants to change that paradigm, and we're both bringing our A games. And let me tell you, the guys and gals at Mercy Ways, their A games is top of the line. It is absolutely top of the line. The work they've done in the past, the people they've worked for in the past, the credits in this guy's resume are top notch. I'd love for him to be able to talk a little bit about that today before we're done.
Oh, absolutely. I want to hear about that. I want to hear about the artistic influences and such, because as you're saying, this is a top-notch, beautiful book. The lettering is exceedingly expressive and clear. The artistry is dynamic, but it's also it's very soft and beautiful. It puts out this aura of kindness that you don't always get with comics in general, let alone a Christian comics, which, as you were saying, there are many connotations added to that, and I think one of them is coming from an angle of hard propaganda, and some of it's coming from an angle of it's B-movie kind of feel, and you don't get that with any of your folks' work. And this wonderful piece of art that this collaboration has and is bringing to the world. On that, you know what? I am kind of curious. What were the what's your artistic inspirations for your line art style there, Yvonne? I'm very curious, because I don't have a great eye for recognizing inspirations all the time, but I do have a good eye for good art, and this is just beautiful.
Oh, thank God, and thank you for
absolutely.
that kind words. Actually, I'm not crying because I'm on camera, but I'm crying inside. It was really cool to hear that, and I think for me, I just came from comic from the 90s.
Okay.
I think actually the 90s for me in comics and animation is just, I tend to draw everything that I saw. I tend to try to actually draw every time or everywhere. But I think the artist who actually inspired me the most is Joe Madureira. I love the art of Joe
Mad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it had a lot of influence. You see my stuff, and if I tell you, oh, I see that. And also J. Scott Campbell. I love the work of that man. He's just so cinematic in his drawing. There's an artist in Argentina called Juan Guarnido, who actually is really great. And actually, there's one. No, actually, the Argentina is called Juan Bovillo.
Okay.
And actually, Juan Bovillo worked in X-Men for many years. And the other one is a Spanish artist called Juan Guarnido, who actually worked in Black Sad. So for me, that I see the art of that stuff, and for me, it's so stunning, so visually storytelling drive, that I think for me, every time that I see something from them, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge geek about it.
Well, I think those influences just carry wonderfully to this tale. Again, and that's the thing too. Like I said before, it carries this kindness, this softness to it that those artists. I mean, J. Scott Campbell does bring that softness to his work, but he leans more on the sexy end. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
But this has a playful dynamic to it that it's got that hard, very well done edge, but it's not a pointy edge, it's not a sharp edge, and again, I'm very pleased. And then how it read too. You folks are excellent at pacing and at keeping it moving forward. Of course, many folks will know, as you said, this is one of the most famous tales, and folks will know kind of where it's going, but being able to present it in a new angle, I think, is a beautiful gift for such an old story to give to the world, and does allow new, it's not a new interpretation per se, but it is again, it's got this softer, kinder edge, which a lot of Christian art does not, and I'm so happy to see this. Most folks may know I'm not a man of very strong direct faith, but I am a very worldly man, and I respect and adore these spirits, these souls being represented and put out there with this level of care. And I'm very proud and grateful to have you folks on the podcast here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. And there's been a ton of work. I mean, for Mercy Weighs In, for Brainy Pixel, our love of the Word of God is foundational to everything that we do and everything that we believe. So that's where these wonderful people in El Salvador, where they began with this story, is researching the Scriptures, reading and rereading and studying Scriptures. It was kind of crazy as they were having developmental and conceptual meetings. Part of their tasks are, hey, you need to draw 10 pages and you need to read, the first 10 chapters of 1 Samuel, right? So it's like this great, combination of reading the Bible and also doing the hard work of churning out pages. And so they went all through the Old Testament, right? They're reading 1st and 2nd Samuel. They're reading Chronicles. They're reading 1st and 2nd Kings. They're in Acts in the New Testament. They're reading Psalms, to reflect back, because David wrote a ton of Psalms. And once they get done with all that kind of Bible study, that's just where they started. They didn't end there. That was the starting point. They then jumped into Josephus, who was a famous Jewish historian who wrote a ton of stuff that is still influential today, and still very, very important when you're reading not just stuff about the Bible, but also the stuff about ancient Israel. And and then also they jumped into the Talmud, right, which adds another kind of layer of Jewish insight into these characters, into this Old Testament historical reference.
Yes.
And they're picking up all these little amazing nuggets about these characters. And then they did something that's really, really exciting and really kind of interesting. And for me, it was really kind of geeky, because on a couple of levels, because on one, I'm a screenwriter and I know exactly what's going on here when they start telling me about what they're doing. And on another, I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And so as they go back and are rereading Scripture, their project manager said, hey, as you're reading Scripture, I want you to think about the first character from pop culture that pops into your mind as you're reading David, right? And I want you to write it down. And as you're reading more Scripture, keep recording those pop culture characters that kind of jump into your brain. And so one of the guys, Ernesto, their project manager, he was like, you know what? To me, David is Marty McFly from Back to the Future, right? He's this little guy. He's the youngest in the family. He's kind of an underdog. He's got this kind of temper. He's got this kind of bravery about him where he won't back down. He's going to stand up to the big guy. And somebody else was like, yeah, for me, it was Link, right? Link from Zelda. And it was just, this kind of adventurous spirit and, out there on the horizon looking for the next thing. And then somebody else said, yeah, he was kind of like Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. He's kind of like, he's the guy that nobody really thinks about. He's kind of, minimized, right? He's kind of the last one anybody ever looks at in terms of a hero. And he's the last one selected. And so all of these things that this team is doing were so smart in terms of storytelling, because as they then started writing the script and as they started molding the panels, right, all this is infusing their subconscious. All this is kind of bleeding out onto the page, and you get it. As you begin reading this comic, it comes across and it makes these characters so much more relatable, and it gives them a fresh kind of new feeling as you read the comic. It's really pretty amazing.
I agree. I've got the page up with the wonderful shift in lettering where he's coming to his faith in God for strength to face against this insurmountable force, and how it was communicated. It's got this softness to the cursive, and then how it's set. David's face as he's just feeling it, gaining his inner strength and the strength from above, and just pushing forward to it. That was beautiful to me. It's just a wonderful communication of these ideas and these very powerful existences, and it's just I just was so glad that it was shared with me, and I'm happy to share it with the folks in chat and the folks who will watch this down the road. And I can't wait. Again, I believe it is tomorrow this goes public. So where's it going public so folks can find it?
Well, actually, if you see this is in a collaboration with two companies. Okay. So we cannot just make one launch. We're going to do two simultaneous launch in two different languages. It's going to be in English and it's going to be in Spanish at the same time, at the same hour. So if you want your English copy or your English digital copy, you have to go with brainypixel.com. Then in their store, there's going to be the English copy. If you want a Spanish copy, you can go to mercyways.com so you can have and grab a Spanish copy. The idea is to keep the quality of everything in the same stuff. It's not going to be a difference between all that is going to be in English is going to be in Spanish. Because actually, there is something that we want to do is just people need to read this story in every language. We will happy to do it in all the language that could be done. But for now, it's going to be in English because Brandon is just be kind enough to actually fix our English and Spanish because we actually are Spanish native talkers here in El Salvador. So it's a great deal for us to be able to launch in two languages. And also it's a great blessing from the above to actually share it, whoever can read it in that two language.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. I really, especially for independent comics like this and many others, you never know where it's going to really connect. And those are the two primary languages I think that can really latch onto this concept and this work most directly. But again, these are very ancient tales and have been retold again and again because they have an extreme value just innately in what they're trying to say and the presentation and obviously the artistry, the wonderful passion and faith behind it is just shining through on every page. And I think anybody who can get a hold of this book will enjoy it. Men of faith, women of faith, or not. And I think really, I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I hope you can translate to as many languages as you can get a hold of. Because again, that's the surest bet to find where this needs to go.
Yeah, and if there are any listeners out there or watchers who are good at translating from Spanish to another language or English to another language, please reach out. We're currently in talks about moving towards Portuguese. That's probably our next target on the list. There's a large contingent of folks down in Brazil and obviously in Portugal that like comics, and so we're kind of leaning in that direction. But we would love for this to go into French and into German and any other language, as Yvonne said. And the Mercy Ways team already has experience in their past. Their last 12-issue comic run that they produced before Chronicles of Faith was called Fear Not. And it began its life in Spanish and since has been translated into English and also into French, and is currently on sale up in Canada and also obviously in Spanish-speaking countries and English-speaking countries. So the team at Mercy Ways, they're very, very experienced. And one of the things that I really want to point out to your listeners and your watchers, Cody, is that we're not your typical indie folks, right? One of the jokes on the internet is that if you want to be an impressive indie comic creator, release issue 2, right?
Yep.
because there are lots of indie guys and gals out there that they release one issue and then they fall off the map and you never see them again. And we want to assure your listeners that is not us. Issue 0, which is kind of technically our issue 1, but it's issue 0, comes out tomorrow, February the 24th. In the afternoon, we'll say. We're not going to tell you exactly what hour because we want you watching. But it'll be in the afternoon. So it comes out tomorrow, and issue 1, the next issue in the series, is already in work, and we're projecting about 90 days from our first drop to our second drop.
That's a great time frame.
We're already hard at work, and we're already excited. We're kind of past issue 0. We're in love with it, but we're getting fascinated with issue 1 now. So we're really excited.
Oh, that sounds great. That's the other big thing too. You're talking about getting to issue 2. I mean, some people do. They fall off for say a year, 2 years, and then they might be able to get issue 2 out. You're shooting for about 90 more days. That's wonderful. That's a very quick output for a a more truly independent kind of set of work, not going through any big publishers, not having the massive financial weight behind it. It's that's wonderful. I love hearing that from any kind of indie work. It's very rare, very rare. You'll see people selling the same book that they haven't released yet for 2 years at a time in the indie space, and that's that's not good for
Right.
anybody. It doesn't set
Right.
the proper standard and the proper artistry that really could make sequential art flourish as well as it can. I mean, manga, it's weekly. They're on a weekly deadline, and they
Mhm.
push it out, and they've been using that leverage and that weight, though it is seems to be soul crushing for the creators. They're using that weight, and they're growing the medium, and they're able to fulfill
Mhm.
the needs and continue to push the IPs and continue to make the work. That's
Mhm.
where I'm really excited to hear. I want not only successful creators, but I want consistently successful creators, because then that lends
Sure.
credence and weight and gravity to the medium as a whole. And this medium's a hard medium. It really is.
It
Comics
is.
is
Yeah.
it's old, but it can tell so many unique stories in unique ways that no other medium can. And
Amen.
and 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 as it loses credence, as it loses that weight, we all lose. We all lose a little bit of
Yeah.
artistry, a little bit of expression that just could change a life. And that's
Yeah.
I'm just
Absolutely.
so happy to hear that.
I think
Yeah.
one of the things. Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Yvonne. Go ahead.
No, I just think it maybe we tend to forget, but the comic is I think is just build up a complete generation. So many people that actually are seeing the movies right now is because the most people right now is just grow up with these comics. It's just grow up thinking that huge power have a big responsibility, or
Mhm.
it's just your pop culture reference always tend to actually build your character, no matter what you're reading, no matter what you're doing. And comics is just a big part of that. At least in the States, I think it is. And I wish there would be in my side of the country, but it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly have been shaped by comics quite a bit. I'm sure most of the listeners as well. And I want to thank them for joining us. Quite a few people have hopped in as we've been speaking, and I thank you all for coming on in.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. And if you have any questions about the work or about these wonderful folks here, please put them in chat. I'll be doing my best to catch those before they disappear on my feed here. But yeah, welcome and thank you guys so much. Check
Yeah.
out
Absolutely.
Chronicles of Faith, David, coming out tomorrow afternoon,
Mhm.
brainypixel.com, as well as Mercy Ways if you are of the Spanish speaking persuasion.
Mhm. And I want to go back, Cody, if I could, to kind of
Please
your
do.
point earlier where you were talking about kind of the the rapidity at which we're going to be releasing these
Yes.
things. We're shooting to drop them about 90 days apart. That's actually one of the reasons why we're not looking at doing a big print run, right? Is because those finances that we've been blessed with, we kind of had a strategic meeting. We said, hey, we would rather put out more comics more quickly in the digital form, build up a reader base that's really passionate about this series, and then go and release something, in a big print run or maybe a print on demand type thing. So for us, it's really going to be a big metric, right? A big kind of measuring stick, if you will, to see what that response to that digital comic is going to be. I mean, we're huge comic geeks, just like everybody that's listening to this show, and we much prefer having physical comics. But just the finances being what they are in today's market, it's tough. It's really tough. So we encourage you guys and gals out there is, like Yvonne says, is give us a shot. It's going to be a comic. It's going to be beautiful. Um, you're gonna have to risk a little bit to see if we can bring it in the story department. I can assure you that we can. This is two award-winning studios talking to you, not Bob and Larry, coming out of their basement. Not that Bob and Larry coming out of their basement are necessarily bad. There's been some amazing creators like that, but the Mercy Ways team knows their stuff, and Brainy Pixel, we think we know our stuff. So give us a shot.
I think you can't lose, folks, in this case, and it's a proven story being presented beautifully with passion and faith, and oh boy, I am just so excited to see more of it. Again, I read this preview that you wonderful folks shared with me. It was a breeze in the best way. That's how I want my sequential art. A lot of works these days are they're hard to consume because the writer did not have faith in the artist, or they had too much ego and put that straight to the page. This does not have that. Again, I keep coming back to the kindness of the art and the beautiful lines, but also in the word choice and how it's presented. Even just diving straight into the scripture, it can be very intimidating, especially for folks who haven't grown up with it and things like that. And this is a wonderful introduction to some of the beautiful morality and expressions that are put forward by that wonderful work. And I think it was a wonderful idea. I'm so glad to see it manifest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
Actually,
You're very
the issue 0, most people think they're going to be short. No, it's a full-length comic. It's completely 24 pages of full color comic, and every issue is going to be for 24 pages of the same quality.
And you won't have many ads, I'm assuming. You'll just have your wonderful, logos and imprints that you're trying to grow on there. It's just a pure expression of artistry with a wonderful focus.
There are no ads. So I mean,
No.
in the back of issue in the back of issue 0, there's a kind of a place where you can kind of reflect, and there's some questions there that you can think about, or maybe you can read to your nephew or your son or daughter or your grandson or daughter. But yeah, there are no ads. We're not packing this thing full of pinup art, or not that there's anything wrong with that. We love pinup art, but we're not
You have to tell a story. Exactly.
Yeah, we got a lot of story to tell, and so we're eating up those pages pretty quickly.
Well, excellent, folks. Let's see. This book looks amazing, as Muttman says. Welcome, Mutt. Thank you so much for stopping by. Will this book be in comic shops? Well, they answered that earlier in that they are focusing on digital to be able to focus on telling the story. It sounds like eventually there is a chance of that, whether it's a collected edition or another single issue, but that will depend on a little bit on the digital reader response. So help them on out and check it out tomorrow. Launch day is probably a great day to really boost some wonderful spirits, and definitely BrainyPixel.com again, and MercyWays.com for Spanish speakers. Check it out. Help put that energy there so that they can get it in the comic shops.
Yeah, we would love to go right into distribution in the comic shops. That's it's just it really depends on what the sales look like. So we're not opposed to that in any way. If we had a great big pot of gold and we could spend it how we wanted to, we would definitely do that. But it's just not that case. So we have to be very good stewards of what God's given us. So
yeah.
Absolutely.
He also asks, how many issues are you planning for? I would assume maybe just for this art, because since it says Chronicles of Faith, I'm assuming Dave is just the first story you want to tell, folks, right?
Well, actually, we're going to focus with David for a while. Actually, the entire story of David is going to be, let's say, 13 issue plus issue 00. It's going to be 15 for all. It's going to be 15 comics for all. And so many ideas about what can be done in the middle. And also you're right, Chronicles of Faith can expand to other characters. It can go from Samson, who actually is so superhero, a comic character that can be awesome. He's just a Superman type, but I don't know, he's just egocentric in a lot of stuff. And we can actually go outside of the Bible. It's just tell the story of many people in real life who actually have chronicles of faith to tell, have amazing faith tale that can actually inspire people to trust God and show how that can happen. Brandon know all the names. I always try to tell him that the names is just too complicated for me. Even just Brandon's last name, I cannot say that correctly yet. I will learn to do that someday.
Well, your English is wonderful.
Don't worry, Yvonne.
Yeah,
I know, Cody. I tell him that all the time.
I
He's
know
always
his English is
apologizing
wonderful.
for his English. And I'm like, if you want to hear somebody apologize,
Right.
have me speak Spanish, right?
That's where I come from too. That's always been my bit
but
too with Maxi Dallo, with our wonderful artist here. His English is extraordinary. He's always apologizing. You folks are so polite and so very kind. We're very blessed to be able to work with such talented artists and such humble
absolutely,
artists.
absolutely, Cody. You are so true. I want to kind of circle back to a couple of points that Yvonne kind of kicked up in that dust storm.
All right.
So one, I absolutely. I think the Mercy Ways team is brilliant. I mean, they are absolutely brilliant. The concept of the Chronicles of Faith, right? First of all, it's based on Chronicles in the Bible, which, if you're not familiar with Scripture, Chronicles was written. It was included into the Bible because the people of Israel had kind of gotten away from reading the first 5 books and remembering what God had done for His people. And so Chronicles was essentially the first reboot, right? It was like, today with all these shows that we're rebooting and we're refreshing for a new generation. Well, God did that first in Chronicles, right? And so he's like, I'm reminding all of you of the amazing stuff that I've done for you so that maybe you'll follow my laws and maybe you'll pay attention to what I'm telling you. And so when the Mercy Ways team kind of began working on this, they said, why don't we basically reboot Chronicles? Because what we want to do is we want to inspire a whole new generation to, again, reflect on God's character, reflect on the amazing things he's done for us and how he loves us. And so you've got Chronicles of Faith, David, right, which is kind of our first topic of discussion, our first character that we're going to examine. We could absolutely apply this series to just about any other biblical figure who at some point demonstrated faith.
Yep.
Once we're done with the Bible, which will be when Yvonne and I are old and gray and need a cane, then
many other artists will come and help us.
Exactly.
We can absolutely jump outside the Bible, right? And we can do Chronicles of Faith, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, right? Chronicles of Faith, Lottie Moon, Chronicles of Faith, Martin Luther King Jr., right?
Yeah.
I mean, all of these amazing men and women who have stood up as it relates to God. And so the series is pretty much limitless. So I think it's like in terms of comic material, in terms of source material, it's a gold mine, right? It's like there's no end to this vein that we could tap.
I saw that right away. I saw that right away when I read Chronicles of Faith. I just thought that was a perfect imprint for being able to put whatever under the umbrella. And David is a perfect choice for the first. It's a humbling choice, and it's again 15 issues. I'm excited to read them all. I can't wait to see. Of course, I want to see issue 1 already, but I can't wait to see where you folks are able to take it. And I think there's so much talent, like you're saying. They're very, very smart with just that simple angle. If you start from such a powerful base, and then you inject such wonderful artistry, as long as everything else can go your way, and you folks have faith that it will, and I do too. I think it's just going to be a wonderful collection of independent comic books for people to check out, and I'm all for that always.
And there's another big important point here in that, and you kind of touched on it, Cody, and Yvonne kind of touched on it earlier as well, in that we want to tell the whole story, right? Whether it's David or Samson or whomever that we're focusing on, we're not going to shy away from the parts that illustrate failure. Right? David is not a moral example. He's not someone that we're saying is a moral example, because while he did many amazing things and he was a king, he did some bad stuff. I mean, the guy in the span of about a week broke 7 of the 10 commandments, right? So, not a great decision maker at that point in his life. So while David was not a great moral example, what he was a great faith example. And that's what we want to focus on, is that when we tell this story and show how David becomes a man even after he's a king, he's going to fall, right? He's going to sin. He's going to do things that he shouldn't do, and he becomes a man after God's own heart because he humbles himself before God, and he goes and he repents for what he did. And this cycle of rebellion and redemption is fundamental to the Bible. It's fundamental to our story, and it's fundamental to telling people about God's character and why we can trust him. And that's the message of these books. Of every single one of these books, that's at the root of it. And that's what's powerful.
I agree. That for sure as a base, and then I'm gonna keep harping on it because I'm just so blown away by the artistry, and I can't wait to see other renditions and other places this artistry is taken. But I haven't seen enough of this yet, so I'm gonna be patient.
One more day.
Well,
there you go.
Just get ready, Cody, because I've been looking at it for months, and I want my wallpaper to be this comic, so it's beautiful.
There you go. Well, all right.
Well, this is funny to tell, because if you're gonna pick up tomorrow, because I'm hoping you do, there's the story you're gonna hear from tomorrow is brand new. It's about David. It's scriptural. It's brand new. So there's something we want to tell. It's just there's a lot of stuff you can make this story fresh. Even if you know the story of David, you don't know the story we're gonna launch tomorrow. So even you heard about it, but you never read it. So this is something that we want to share, and we hope everyone just give us a chance to be part of it.
That's some of my that was a wonderful point. Some of my favorite parts about storytelling as what storytelling is that a good storyteller can tell a old story, a ancient, very well told story again and again and make it fresh to new eyes. If the story has a great core to it and the storyteller has a flair, then you are in for a very fun ride. And I see that here in every line and every word. I was very impressed.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the preview, right, Cody? I
Yes.
sent you the preview, didn't I?
Yes, and that's what I've been showing.
Yeah, that hook where everything shifts, and you're like, oh, whoa, this is not the story I thought it was. Right?
Yes.
That hook is. Oh man, I read that hook and I'm like, I'm in. Right? Sign me up. I'm in. I want a piece of this. It's brilliant storytelling. It's just brilliant, right? And just if I wasn't involved in this, I would be so stoked.
Well, I could tell you're stoked anyway, and I'm glad to see that. I want.
I'm uber stoked.
I want enthusiastic creators creating passionate stories that they want to tell instead of what we tend to get these days, which is designed products. I don't want that. I want art. And art can be messy, but art can be love. It can be passion. It is always hard work if you're doing it right. And I love seeing that on the page. I love hearing it from great creators like yourselves, and I love seeing it grow as independent artistry overall takes more of a foothold. I mean, it's always a hard fight, but it's been growing because it's just hard to keep the human soul back. You can't do it, and so I just love seeing it grow and grow.
I think there's another reason why it's growing, and I think it's because of people like you, Cody. You know, I mean, we're here because you gave us this platform, and you basically built this platform. You built this audience, and that is not without its own merit, right? And I think your listeners, they should be very, very thankful, that you're out here, and that, because this is this is a form of art, what you're doing. It might not be writing, it might not be, putting lines on a page, but what you're doing is an art form in and of itself. And so, my hat's off to you as well. And for, slogging through all this technical stuff, you got to figure out to make a way for us to be on here and talk about this. So we've all got to do it together. We can't let the big boys. We can't let the big boys and the big girls control us. We gotta make it happen. We gotta work together.
And that's the reason why I have this platform. Is I've known that from the beginning. And if you don't like what you're being served and you can figure out how to make it better, then there's no reason you shouldn't. And that's I'm grateful I'm able to. I'm very grateful I'm able to find the places. I'm grateful for the audience who's given me near limitless patience on many angles, and for the work I've been able to manifest both on this platform and the many others. and the fact that it's been accepted and enjoyed by so many is just a beautiful gift to me. And I am just endlessly appreciative being able to share the space with wonderful creators and talents and works. And it'll keep me going, and it sounds like it'll keep you folks going as well as you continue to make this beautiful series manifest and get into folks' hands, whether it's on a Kindle, a phone, or hopefully eventually in a comic shop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, David lived long enough to become the villain. Looking forward to seeing how you depict the darker parts of his life. Yep, we were talking about
Yeah,
that. Thank
actually
you,
it
Mutt.
is.
So yeah, I'm excited to see that as well because, as I was saying earlier, this artistry has this playful flair to it, this kind of very very kind, gentle feel to it. But you can tell even with just the panels of Goliath that I believe I have shown earlier, there's a harder edge that can come, and I can't wait to see that, especially with influences like Joe Mad. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it gets pretty scary before the end, even in issue 0. I'll
Oh,
tell you that much. So
there you go.
Oh yeah, it's kind of dark in that story, but
Well, all right. Is there any other points you folks wanted to hit? And also, if there's anybody in chat who has any other questions, we're 100% open to them and appreciate you being here.
well, the thing we want to actually try to tell everyone is just follow in our social media, because
Yeah.
right now we're doing a lot of pushing what the social media had. It's a free stuff. You can have wallpapers for your laptop, for your desktop, for your phones, and actually we want you to engage in the story. We're just showing early sketches about everything. It's just daily development videos and a lot of stuff on how this story is going forward, and what was all the process to create this. This is a lot of work in the back. Even the place Israel is a character in the story, and we choose every story or every character thinking about something else. It's just thinking a future payoff for the character. So it's just not randomly choosing, but I think everyone just can give us the chance to that and follow us, because everything that is bring us to here is on the social media in Brainy Pixel and also in mercyways.com.
Yeah, we absolutely. We were kind of touching on that before with talking about the platform I'm providing. The fact of the matter is, we don't get to continue to do this without your wonderful support. Any of it.
absolutely.
Grassroots is what breeds indie, and indie breeds independence and freedom, and the ability to tell the stories you want to tell, the ability to share the stories you want to share without filters, without compromise, and being able to do what you want to share with the world. And man, I want to see more of that. I've seen more and more as I've continued to engage in the spaces I've been privileged to engage in, but I'll never see enough. I want to see more and more and more. And this is how you support these wonderful works. You find what you like, and you don't get complacent with what you're given. You go out and look, because you will find something better. I can almost always guarantee you will find something that will satisfy you more than what is being usually pushed. So check them out at Mercy Ways Studios, I believe, on Twitter. At Brainy Pixel, is it at Brainy Pixel Productions, or is it just at Brainy Pixel on Twitter for you folks?
So yeah, so for Brainy Pixel, we're at Brainy Pixel just about everywhere on the internet except for Pinterest, I believe, or
Okay.
Instagram, one of the two, where we're at Brainy Pixel Productions. You can also go to our homepage, brainypixel.com, and we've got links at the bottom that take you to all those places. And Mercy Ways, where are you guys again?
Actually, we're in YouTube. We are in Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But the same, if you want a shortcut, go to mercyway.com
There
and
you
you
go.
can find a link for all the social media. And actually, just take a look at in the both sides, because there's a lot of other project that Brainy Pixel has in the page, and another project that Mercy Ways has. So it's gonna be a fun blast if you take a look. It's going to be something that you may enjoy if you love the art and if you love animation. So
Yeah, and I want to tag another quick thing on here, Cody, if I could, and that
Please.
we've been pushing hard the month of February on social media, and don't think that's just going to stop just because the product comes out. There's a lot more stuff to tell. I mean, you're talking about a studio that does everything to the absolute top level of production, right? They have character sketches that look better than some people's finished comics. I mean, it's just, for me as an art director, it's mind-blowing the level of love and affection and care and work that they put into every single thing that they touch. And we're going to be telling this story, for some time in the visual realm, in the textual realm, on social media. We want people to engage with this story. We want people to engage with us on social media. It's not just about throwing out some seed and then you guys come and, give us some money for the seed and then you leave. We want to create a community around this. We want people talking about it, because to us, that's the payoff, right? Is to connect with people. So if there are people out there that want to connect with us, we're open books. We're not hiding anything. We'll tell you anything you want to know, how we got in the place we are, what we've done in the past, tips, tricks, whatever. We're more than happy to engage on that level.
And that's great to hear. Again, as you were saying before, we're in it together. That's the only way we grow these, the ability to keep telling these wonderful stories. And when it's such a high level of professional work in such a small space, you would be a fool not to take advantage and try to learn what you could find from these wonderful folks. I know I've been trying to, and I've been seeing some of the beautiful in-process videos that they've put out. They're very much worth watching, and I can't wait to see more to come out of there. I'm gonna have to go ahead and bookmark both those sites and go check them out here probably right after this. I recommend other folks do too.
And folks, Cody does this as well, right? I mean, I wouldn't be on this podcast today if he hadn't answered a direct message from some guy he'd never heard called Brainy Pixel on Twitter. And literally I pitched him. I'm like, hey, I can write comics. Give me a shot. And he's like, okay, go for it. and the rest is history. We're working together now.
Yes.
And I'm on this podcast. So we have to help each other.
Yes.
The big boys and girls out there do not have time or an interest in helping you. All they have an interest in is your wallet. Your credit card. But we're all about building a community of indie creators who are passionate about what they're doing. And we're more than a high tide floats all boats, and we're more than happy to help.
Exactly. And that's what keeps me in this space, is seeing that is a constant, that a lot of the time these wonderful passionate creators, they've gone through what you are going through a lot of the time, and a lot of the time they are kind enough to be able, or to be willing to help you. And reach out. I'm always there. IronVerseComics@gmail.com, email at @cowboy_steel on Twitter, DM me. Just like Brainy Pixel said, just some random guy messaging me. I'm here to build, and if I can build quality, and if I am blessed enough to meet wonderful talents and just great people to build with, then honestly I do believe that is the foundation that just can't be destroyed, and pushing forward with that, it can only grow and build. I've seen many other approaches taken that are they get you to the finish line quicker, but they don't hold up after that. And I want to see more strong foundation, because at the end of the day, as you said, a rising tide lifts all boats, and the mainstream doesn't lift any. so I wanna continue to grow that. I'm happy to provide the platform. I am very proud to have hosted you wonderful folks today. And one last time, any final words, any pitches, and the social media, just one more time to really get that out there. And I'll be promoting it and such over the coming days, and particularly tomorrow during your launch. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Absolutely. So tomorrow, just keep your eyes out. We launch tomorrow with Chronicles of Faith David, issue 00. And it's a full-length, beautiful 24-page comic, complete story, no fillers or ads. You can get an English version over at brainypixel.com, a Spanish version over at mercyways.com, and definitely join us on our social media channels. We've got a lot of stuff that's going on that's not going to stop just because we release an issue tomorrow.
It's just the beginning.
Excellent. I love hearing it. Thank you two so much for joining me and for your patience. This is our third attempt at this podcast, by the way, folks. The first time I had completely forgot that it happened, and my pup had a vet appointment right when I needed to be hosting this. Second time was that storm week, last week, and that just, I could not hold the connection. But today, I always have faith that timing's always been a blessing to me. So I'm thinking today was the right day to do it, the day before this thing launches, and I'm very blessed to have met you folks and to have shared the space and this time with you. That extends to every one of you listeners, both now that are here and that listen in the future. And just thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you. Actually,
Thank you, Cody. We are so blessed to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us today on IronVerse Interviews. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics, and we'll catch you on that old, rusty IronVerse Comics trails. You folks take care.
Goodbye. Nice to meet you all.